Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
It's a much-needed bye week for the Utes as they get set for the final stretch of the 25 season. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Yeah, I mean, we started diving into them last Monday of the bye week. I just treated it like a normal week, and they're a great team. Great up front. They got some really, really good edge rushers, especially some really great interior D linemen, some really great linebackers as well. So I'm just excited for the opportunity to play against the best. You know, that's what you want to do, is play against the best, and that's what we get, right? That's the chance that we get right here. And so what a fun opportunity for us. Got a lot of respect for those guys on that other side of the ball. So it's going to be a fun challenge for us, but definitely excited for the challenge ahead.
That is Andrew Gentry for BYU. Cougars get set for an absolutely massive showdown against Texas Tech in Lubbock. And joining us now, one of our favorites, Chris Level's been on the show a bunch, part of that Texas Tech broadcast, also the host of the Locked On Texas Tech podcast as well, part of that Locked On network, that empire that David Locke has built. By the way, we got to start getting David on. It's about that time.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's jazz time.
For his weekly visit, for his weekly soliloquy, when he just won't shut up.
Yeah.
All right, Chris joining us. Chris, how you doing, man?
Hey, Chris.
I'm doing good, boys. How are we doing?
Good. All right, so were you surprised at all to see BYU ahead of Texas Tech in the college football playoff poll?
Man, I don't know what to think about all this stuff. No, not really. I mean, I guess I was surprised that 3 Big 12 teams listed before the first ACC team. I was surprised that Tech is favored by, 9 or 10 points. I mean, it's just, we're all trying to process this stuff in real time, and we don't know what's what, but ultimately you just have to get results, and you just have to keep winning, and usually that stuff sorts itself out. But this is going to be and this is great for the Big 12. What a fun opportunity for the league, for these two programs. And I don't know if anybody really saw this coming. We're not back in August circling this game as like, that's going to be the Big 12 game of the year. It's going to be a top 10 matchup. No, this is just not where we were at. And but it's pretty clear these are the two best teams. And I'm glad that they don't miss each other and that they actually get to play in the regular season, and it's very meaningful. And it should be a lot of fun. But my poor city here is busting at the seams. They're camping out. It's just wild and crazy here. So if you're Joey McGuire, you're trying to keep your kids from avoiding all of those distractions and things like that. But pretty big stage on Saturday morning here in Lubbock.
Which is a tall task when both these teams check in the top 10 in the first college football playoff polls. It's pretty incredible and exciting. I want to get into the matchups and some of the X's and O's of this. Help me understand how they use David Bailey. Are they opportunistic with him? Do they rotate him? Do they try to find matchups, strengths, weaknesses, or do they just line him up on the blind side and say, go?
So when they put all this together, we knew that it would be much better than their defense was last year, which was really bad. And I knew it would be good, but I'd be lying if I told you I thought it would be this good. I think the coordinator deserves a lot of credit, Sheil Wood, and they do use him in a variety of different ways. I think that he rotates in some. There's times earlier in the year where he's not even in the game, and I'm like, what's going on? Like, why is he just not in all the time? But I think that they've got some depth, and he plays the run much better than I would have thought, because you hear he's a pass rusher, and then you think, he's one-dimensional, he's a one-trick pony. This is not who this player is, or Romello Height for that matter. And it's been fascinating to watch the improvement, because, guys, this was a defense last year that ranked like 125th or something. And now they're in the top 10, and they have the number one rushing defense in the country, and they've just done it with a new coordinator and some new players and a lot of the old players, and it just it's really looked completely different, and it needed to be. I didn't know if I thought it would need to be this good, but Bailey's just an absolute menace. And I will tell you that the whole Stanford thing that leads us to this is crazy to me, because if Stanford doesn't fire their head coach, David Bailey's not chasing after Bear Bachmeier on Saturday morning. I mean, and BYU may have gotten the better end of that trade. As crazy as that sounds too, because I mean, David Bailey leads the country in sacks, but you got a true freshman quarterback that's just been lights out. But these two teams certainly benefited from Andrew Luck's decision to move on from Troy Taylor back in the spring.
Chris Level joining us, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. What has really impressed you about the development of Baron Morton?
Well, he's had a rocky year, and I felt bad for him just because it's like, man, he just can't get. There's no normal for him. He's dealt with a bit of an injury from the first game, and then he's kind of been in, and he's kind of been out, but. What we have all learned, as good as Will Hammond has been, and I know Will had a big game up in Salt Lake City. He played really well against Kansas in the second half, and he's now out for the year. But what we're all realizing is just Barron's presence and some of the intangibles that he offers up, and the checks at the line on the RPO concepts. I mean, whether I give it, whether I throw it, just all those little things that you maybe don't appreciate as the game is going along. He typically has his team in the right play, checks to the right play, gets them out of a bad one, and I think that's what really I've I guess noticed and have appreciated. And I think just his presence and leadership that's certainly meant a lot to this team. But this is kind of his swan song, and all roads lead to this. And last week was big, and certainly this week will be even bigger.
I know he's been in and out of the lineups. How's his health?
I think he's fine. I mean, he's just going to deal with the minor leg injury. Is his calf, and he can still run around and all that. I mean, I think that sometimes as the game goes along, he limps a little bit, but he's fine. I think it's just going to be something that they have to manage the rest of the way, and it is. You don't really have a plan B at this point. So, but he still throws it great, and he took off and ran it a few times in Manhattan last week. But yeah, he was definitely as excited as anybody after that game was over in Manhattan last week.
There's a few guys on the defensive side of the ball for BYU that I would heavily consider for defensive MVP for the Big 12, but I'm afraid everybody's going to be second place behind Jacob Rodriguez. I don't even know what to say about the guy, Chris. I mean, 77 tackles, 7 forced fumbles. What can't he do? And what does he mean to this team? How healthy is he, and what do you expect from him on Saturday?
Yeah, I was mentioned, somebody asked me about a month ago, hey, is this kid better than Zach Thomas? And because around here, that's about as heavy a praise as you can offer up. Zach is an NFL Hall of Famer. His name is in the Ring of Honor, which they've only got like 7 or 8 players that they put up there. And I just kind of scoffed at the question, like, okay, come on, we're getting ahead of ourselves. And I'm not so sure that he's not better than Zach was as a college player to this point. And that's about as – I mean, he's a former quarterback. I work for a school district here in Lubbock, and that particular school played against Jacob's high school team, I think, 7 times over 3.
Chris has left the building.
We'll
try to get – oh,
there he is.
There he is. Still there. Go ahead, Chris.
I was like, I can still hear you guys. Yeah,
no, you were just saying that that you played him your school district played him 7 times. That's where you cut
out. And he was he's just a really good player then. But Joey Tate, he wanted to play linebacker, and I mean that's the best decision you can make. I mean the guy's just his IQ is just off the charts. He just is where he's supposed to be. The uncanniness of being able to punch the ball out is just crazy. And you can practice it and all the things, but you just got to get it. And it's been very impressive to watch. He's healthy, and he's such a great human. That's the other part. He's grounded. He's very humble. He's well studied. I mean, it's everything you want. And I think he's probably played his way in a pretty good situation with the Capitals around next spring.
Well, Chris, we'll let you go. Appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us, and look forward to catching up with you again down the line here.
See you Saturday, Chris.
Hey, thank you, guys. You guys keep hope alive, and have a good rest of the week. Appreciate it.
You got it. There he is, Chris Level. He is hosts the Joey McGuire Weekly Coaches Show. He's working the sidelines for the Texas Tech games as well, and host of the Locked On Texas Tech podcast.
Okay, let's just give you a little bit of a perspective here. Oh, my internet's not working.
Yeah, mine blew out on me too in the middle of that interview.
So right now, Jacob Rodriguez has 77 tackles. He is leading the Big 12, and he's got the 7 forced fumbles, and he's kind of their do-it-all guy. If you take a look at BYU, right now their tackle leader is Falatau Satawala at 53 tackles. Now, Satawala has been nothing short of special and critical for BYU as Raider Damuni went out, and now we're expecting Raider Damuni to be available. We might see a bit of Raider and Satawala mixed with some Tanner Wall, because Tanner Wall is currently sitting second in tackles at 38. You know, I mentioned Jacob Rodriguez being number 1 in the Big 12 defensive MVP race and everybody else being a number 2. Let's just take Jack Kelly, for instance. Now, Jack was injured, and he's been banged up, so his production has slowed down a little bit, but he's got 35 tackles and 5 sacks to go against Rodriguez in his 77 and all the forced fumbles and everything else that comes with him. I think he's a shoo-in. If he stays healthy and just continues partial production, he's a shoo-in. And he better be the focus and the emphasis of this BYU offense in their front.
There's some guys that you just have to identify when they're out on the field and where they're at. And he's one of those guys. And
listening to Chris say, I'm to the point now where I could say he might be better than Zach Thomas. You know,
you're talking about a Hall of Fame. I think NFL Hall of Famer.
He's an NFL Hall of Famer. He's one of my all-time favorite linebackers. Yeah. And that's Jacob Rodriguez. And, you know, he mixes with a couple of guys that make him just very, very dangerous. And this Texas Tech defensive line, they did it against the University of Utah, and they're going to try to do it against BYU, where their defensive front is going to try to take up the bulk of the blocking, and their linebackers move free. So BYU is going to have to do a good job of getting up to the next level, picking up Jacob, picking up these linebackers, and being able to open up some of these gaps. We've seen Bear Bachmeier at times run free up the middle, including a couple weeks ago against Iowa State, where he found some room up the middle. The legendary run against University of Utah up the middle for that touchdown, dragging a couple of defenders. Texas Tech will tighten down those gaps. They flow with their linebackers, and those linebackers they hit you hard, and they cause turnovers. So all I'm asking is get a hand on them. In your combo blocks, and I don't like to leave the down lineman too early, but in your combo blocks, make sure you're taking over that block and getting up the next level and at least getting a hand on to slow down the speed of these linebackers so they don't get those free and clear shots that jar those balls loose.
Yep.
That's where it comes down to. I mean, I'll give you the explanation of why and what and how to fix it. So how do you fix it? Get clean off the combos. How do you get clean off the combos? Make sure that your takeovers are right. And make sure your footwork is right for the takeover so that I can get up the next level and get a hand on him. And if I can do that, well, then L.J. Martin's going to go get you 4 or 5 yards. And you can average 4.5 to 5 yards per carry. You got to be up in around that 4.5 to 5 yards. You can't be 4 and under.
To get to that magic 160
The
number.
160 that you got to get to. So, you know, the details on this crap, it keeps me up at night. And, you heard Andrew Gentry coming in from the break, and Andrew's he's been so beautiful off that tackle position. Him and Jada have really held it down. This is going to be their biggest test by a country mile. And I asked about David Bailey's usage, and you heard him. He said, no, they're pretty creative with him. If they're creative with him, I kind of have an idea of what they're going to do with him.
Yeah.
And if they figure that out, David Bailey could have a really good night.
Yeah.
Or Aaron Roderick could say, oh, I see what I know better what Hans knows. So I'm going to connect a Kean Need. I'm going to connect a Carson Ryan. I'm going to use an L.J. Martin And we're going to figure out all of our combos and all of our touches and all of our chips, and we're never going to let David Bailey just have a free path.
Yeah.
And we're going to always get our combos up and get a hand on Rodriguez. Those are the two things. Critical.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Let's go, let's go! Complete game coverage of the Cougars is right here on the KSL Sports Zone. It doesn't get much bigger than this. BYU and Texas Tech, your home for the best coverage of Cougar football, is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Woo!
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. It is your Cougar Preview Show as we get you ready for BYU and Texas Tech. Even though Utah's not playing, we will have your Ute Preview Show tomorrow with Frank Dolce, and then a Football Friday with Alema Harrington and Ron McBride coming up on Friday. So we got you covered, folks. Everything you need to get you ready for another weekend of college football. In fact, I'll be up in Logan with Bronco Mendenhall later tonight talking some Aggie football. So, Hans, when you look at this game and you go Texas Tech as a 10.5-point favorite, I don't see this as a 10.5-point game, but I can't figure out where I'm leaning right now on this one, whether it's BYU or BYU or Texas Tech. I think I like BYU plus 10.5, but I'm not quite sure on if BYU actually wins this thing outright.
Well, there's a real advantage to having that bye week while Texas Tech is dueling it out with Kansas State.
Yeah.
And the numbers on that game don't show just how physical and how tough a game that was. In fact, David Bailey went down in that game, the defensive end that I've been talking about. He went down in that game, but he did return. But it was a physical game, and I know it beat Texas Tech up pretty good. The bye week giving BYU an opportunity to get quite a few critical pieces back. Now we're going to see it play out and see how healthy they are. So I'm going to put it this way. If L.J. Martin is 90%, if Jack Kelly, Ciale Acera, and Isaiah Glasker are all 90% plus, I think BYU wins this game. I feel pretty comfortable and confident. We've had enough of a sample size of Bear Bachmeier in big games, not turning the ball over, to know that he's good at it. He knows the importance of it. And I'm sure it's been restated a few times over the bye week. So he's a smart kid. He knows what type of chance it gives BYU if you just don't simply give Texas Tech an extra possession. So I trust that. I trust Bear Bachmeier in his sturdy build and his running ability with that sturdy build. Something we have not seen truly maxed out is Carson Ryan.
Yeah.
I still think that we've seen a lot of blocking from him, and we've seen some good catches from him. I don't think we've seen him take over a game like great tight ends can do. And what I'd like to see is if Carson Ryan matches up well with whoever they find in nickel or whatever outside linebacker they find responsible for that coverage. If they feel like Carson Ryan has the edge and advantage, target him, go to him, and hammer that until they focus, until they crunch down on him, and it leaves some other open crossers or opportunities for Parker Kingston, who's really started to peak. Mm-hmm. But I still think that there's room for Carson Ryan to grow. And I expect him to be a huge piece of the game plan going in to this Texas Tech game.
We talked about physicality of Texas Tech, and we watched it against the University of Utah. And Kyle Whittingham said afterwards, hey, this doesn't happen to us often, but we got just bullied at the line of scrimmage. So we know that they can be physical, but on the defensive side, from an athleticism, from a speed standpoint, is this a team that you can't go sideline to sideline on because they'll chase you down? Yeah.
You remember the outside runs didn't work against Iowa State.
Yeah.
And they had to go all interior. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Yep.
Iowa State's exterior speed was just too good. Utah's was too, where they would get out there and they would hit the edges. And BYU did a really good job of just coming back inside. Their interior zone schemes and their interior zone reads are lights out good. And the blocking schemes are lights out good. And one thing that I'm really encouraged by, and Mitch Juergens kind of mentioned it, I think that this offensive line has a massive ego. And I think they've got massive personality. And I think that they're going to rise to the challenge. I really believe that. You know Waylon Lapuaho.
Yep. That guy wants to scrap with anybody.
Nobody scares him.
No.
He's not looking at Texas Tech like, I don't know. He's looking at Texas Tech like, I am going to drive these guys into the ground.
Yeah.
Bruce Mitchell, former wrestler, former defensive lineman, he's the same way at the center position. He will grind and wall off and edge anybody. Same with Leusa and Mocassini. Like, these are gigantic personalities, big egos that love the interior smashing. And, I look at Mocassini, Leusa, and Lapuaho to bring kind of that Polynesian badassery. That I always looked to my Polynesian teammates as, when we're going into battle, when we're really going to go into war, these are the guys I want to go to war with, because they'll put on the face paint and they'll be the first one to charge.
Yeah.
And so I need them to be that, crazy, intimidating presence that they've been all year. And that's who they are. And I can't tell you how much I love Waylon Lapuaho as an interior leader. And it's been understated how important this offensive front has been. So including them and then throwing in Jada and Gentry at your tackle positions, I know this is a really good Texas Tech front. I know that BYU's offensive line isn't afraid of anybody. I know TJ Woods over the last 2 years may have been as big a piece, not quite as big as Jay Hill, but as big of an addition as anybody else, close to.
Yeah.
What he's done with his offensive line talent and how much he's improved the run blocking schemes. But if you really want to identify how this game is going to go, it's going to be based on BYU's offensive front. That's how Texas Tech beat Utah.
Yeah.
And by the way, it wasn't as much as their offensive front five as it was, and I pointed this out multiple times, was their tight end, their 2 or 3 tight end sets, their receiver blocking, and their running back blocking. That was the biggest issue. Remember, Tech was slicing gaps, and they were slicing gaps on the outside, and whether it was Lander Barton, who was a little bit green in blocking, or it was one of 3 different tight ends that they were using, Texas Tech was getting the angles, hitting the gaps, bubbling all the runs, and making cleanup tackles 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage. So those are the types of things BYU can't do. I don't like the exterior runs.
Yeah, I don't either. Take the fly sweeps and put them somewhere else.
Run them twice.
Yeah. Just to show that you're willing to do it.
Yeah.
And then give it on the dive and fake the fly sweep after that.
But this team has built a pretty beautiful identity that they aren't going to back down from anybody.
Yeah.
And on the defensive side, that largely comes from your linebackers.
There's no smoke and mirrors with this team. Like they are who they are.
They are who they are.
They're coming to punch you in the mouth. That you know what they're going to do, for the most part. Now, granted, Aaron Roderick's been very smart with his scheme, but you know their general philosophy of how they want to attack.
Well, yeah, it's you've already brought up the comparison of the Utah Jazz with Jerry Sloan in the pick and roll. It's like Texas Tech knows that the zone read is coming, and they know that the RPO is coming. But how do you stop it when it's run the right way?
Yeah.
Where is our emphasis? Where is our focus? And that's why L.J. Martin is so important, because if L.J.'s not in there, my emphasis and focus is not on Preston Rex. It's not on Enoch Nawahine. it's on Bear Bachmeier.
Yeah.
But if L.J. Martin's in there, L.J. is the 13th leading rusher in the country right now at 100 yards a game. By the way, I think that's largely, too, why L.J. does not want to miss a game, because L.J. knows he's one or two big runs away from being put up on a draft board and being looked at really closely.
Yeah. I mean, they're like, well, what did he do against Texas Tech?
Right.
Well, he didn't play. He was injured. Oh, okay. I would really like to see that film.
And L.J. Martin as a junior, it's time.
Yeah.
Like, it's time. And I know that he's on people's radar, but he wants to be the dude.
Yeah.
So this is a big game for him. And he's going to have to give it everything he's got.
Hans and Scotty coming up next. We'll wrap up this bad boy. We're live here at Kenny J's Barbecue in the District in South Jordan, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Nobody gets you ready for Utah football more than the KSL Sports Zone.
Ready?
It's a much-needed bye week for the Utes as they get set for the final stretch of the 25 season. Your home for the best coverage of Utah football is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. This is Hans Olsen and Scotty G, presented by Mountain Land Supply on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
Hans Olsen, Scott Gerard, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Wrapping up your Cougar Preview Show. Hans, on Friday, you'll take off to Lubbock. You guys will have an early morning there in Lubbock, getting you ready for this one. And, of course, having the broadcast, you, Greg, Mitch, on the call on this one. And should be a lot of fun. I'm envious of you on this one.
It's going to be an amazing day, an amazing morning, and this thing is going to come down to how healthy the team was able to get in the bye week.
Yeah.
I could potentially know in warm-ups when they're on the field, watching the way they're taking on the blocks or watching the way they're cutting, just to see their energy. You know, you talked about Coach Nasalki and the way he could identify things when guys would step to the line for a free throw. You can see a lot just by the way somebody's running into the pile, the way somebody's extending their arms to take on the block, to then shed the block. I'll know pretty quick. But if this team's healthy, they win.
Yeah.
If L.J. Martin goes 4 quarters, averages 4.5 yards a carry, they win. If Jack Kelly's healthy and he's able to get a little bit of a rush on Morton and he's able to contain the pocket, they win. If it's the opposite, then it could be a long day in Lubbock. But I don't think that's how it's going to go.
Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.